Hello, I'm Miss Elaine.
And I'm Angela.
She's my daughter. And we're, as part of your 5th grade CCD lesson, we are going to do a sip and paint. Angela has hot cocoa, I have coffee, and we're gonna paint this wreath, if you could zoom in, this nice wreath with the word joy in the middle. And joy, as far as 5th grade CCD go, stands for Jesus, others, then yourself. That's the order that you have to put things to really find happiness. So we want to focus on Jesus first, others second, because Jesus wants us to take care of others, and then we worry about ourselves last. And in doing that, we really find happiness through Jesus. So what we need to get started, our paint kit that we got in our CCD box comes with a brush. We have our canvas that came in our box that we're going to paint on. We have got our cup of water. These are watercolor paints, so they're water soluble, so you just dip your brush in the water and then into the paint. One thing to remember is watercolor, you want to use minimal amount of water and mostly paint so that it sticks well on the canvas. We have a few paper towels in case we have an accident. I just got a DVD, either a music CD or a movie DVD, because I'm gonna cheat a little bit and make the outline of the circle. I'll show you when I do it, just so I know that I have a basic circle to form my wreath. You don't have to do that if you want. So we're going to get started with our sip and paint for our joy wreath. So we're gonna start by making the green of our wreath. And there's three different color greens. There's some darker green, which is you could just use the green right out of the paint here, right out of the tray. And then to make the lighter green, we're gonna mix, what do you wanna mix, Ange?
Green and yellow, which would make a lime green, or green and white, which would just make a lighter green.
So use your artistic creativity, and you could do all different shades of green here. But the key is to get some really dark greens and some lighter greens all mixed in around our wreath, and I'm gonna show you as I go. I have this DVD we're going to use as a guide. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to dip my brush into the water, and I'm going to mix a little of a lighter green. And once I have a little strip of paper I could test my light green on, see how light that is? Now I'm going to make a little circle, I'm going to center my DVD, and I'm going to make the circle a little ways outside of that, because we want to make the wreath as big as we can. And I'm just basically, doesn't have to be perfect, but I make myself a nice light colored circle. A little bit, about 1 inch bigger than the wreath, than the DVD. Now Angela's going to do hers. And then we'll just make the leaves coming right off of that circle. Now we have our circle for our wreath. You could see Angela's doing hers. Just right, just keep continuing right around in a circle, Ange. Okay, so now we have our basic circle for our wreath. We're going to go to the red now. We're going to actually write the word joy in first so that we have it centered, and then we know that we have enough room to write it. We don't want to write it too big because we want to have room for our leaves to come out. So if you had green on your paintbrush, rinse it off. We're going to go right into red, and you want to make that red as bright as you can. See, we have our little test strip of paper here. We want to loosen up that paint with plenty of water and whoosh it in so we get a nice color red. Make it as dark with paint as you can. Okay, now
Mine's very dark.
we're going to go to the middle of our circle. And remember, we don't want it too big because you want to leave room for the leaves. So pick the very middle of your circle. And we're going to start with an O. We're going to do the O first. We're going to just make your O around like this. And it's a cursive O. But if you don't want to do a cursive O, you don't have to. This O, as it is in the picture, has a big loop on the top. Just like that. So now we know our O is in the middle. Look at Angela's. You did that well, Ange, right in the middle. Okay, I'm going to get more red paint. And now I'm going to do the J. And I went out of order so that we know the O is in the center. Now we're going to put the J for Jesus on the left of our O. We'll start right about here. and it's a cursive letter, so I'm just looking at the picture. You start with a little line here, then you go down, and there's a big loop on the end. And it connects with the O because it's cursive. Just like that. Then we'll put our little dot. I'll get some more paint, and our little dot on top of the J. So we have our J for Jesus, our O for others, and now there's the Y. We want to do the Y. How are you making out, Ange? That's perfect, Ange. You have to put your little dot on your I, on your J rather.
Lesson learned, don't use a lot of water.
Yeah, you don't want to use too much water because the water dilutes the paint. So just enough water to get your paint loose. Okay, I'm ready to start my Y. So I'm gonna, where this O little line came out from the O, I'm gonna start my Y. Go down, and down again, and loop it around. And that's it. So there we go. Jesus, others, yourself. The key to happiness right there. Time to take a sip of our cocoa. Okay, so here's where we're at. We have the word joy in red. We have our light green, just a tracing of the circle. We're gonna go ahead and do the leaves. What you wanna remember is, if this is still wet, which it is a little, we don't wanna smear our hand through it and drag our red paint all over. So Ange and I are gonna start doing our leaves. We're just gonna, as we do our leaves for the wreath in green, we're just gonna spin our canvas so that we're never have our hand in the middle of the wreath. It's always just on the outside. If you constantly turn your paper like this, you'll never smudge your word joy. So we're gonna start, I'm gonna start with dark green. How about you, Ange?
I'll start with
Okay,
dark
so see how we wanna get these nice dark green colors? We're gonna use a very dark green, as green as we could get it.
Do we mix black?
I wouldn't. I think the green is brighter if it's just green. If anything, you can mix a little blue. But really, it's art. And art is creative, and beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So you could do whatever you want. That's part of the joy of this. Okay, so now we have this light circle here. I'm just gonna, you're almost gonna make just like a couple wings. It's almost like wings on each side, just like that. See how it comes out? The center is the circle. And they don't have to be exactly the same size. Nothing is exact in nature. Trees are not exactly the same size. Leaves are never exactly the same size. So, you know, we'll put a few dark ones, maybe here. Then later I'll go back and I'll make my lighter green and I'll fill in some lighter green leaves around it. So see how it's just kind of like, almost like you're making wings on a fly or a butterfly. But see how nice and dark I got my green? There's a lot of paint and not so much water. And you don't have to make the spacing exactly the same. You could put a couple dark leaves in a row, then some lighter ones.
You can kind of make a heart.
How are you doing, Ange?
You can kind of make a heart.
Perfect. Yeah, like Angela says, look, it's almost like a heart. She's right. Make a little heart centered on your line, just like that. That's perfect, Ange. Now I'm gonna make some lighter leaves and mix them in. So all we're gonna do for that is, like we said, well, maybe Angela, I'm gonna try the white.
Okay.
So I got my green and I'm mixing some white in. We'll see how that looks. That almost looks the same. I think I want to do some yellow. Yep, see there's more yellowy green, the lighter green. And it's just different leaves go shooting out in different directions. So we're just continuing doing our different colors. Ange's wreath is a little more bushy. She likes it thick like that. That looks good, Ange. And I'm just kind of doing my little leaves. But we're just making our way around the circle.
I kind of want mine to stick out some of the branches.
We have some dark colored leaves and some lighter colored leaves. And you could go back and add highlights and accent, like you could take some of the dark green paint and highlight over some of your lighter colored leaves, just like this. And it gives it a little detail. That's the great thing about watercolors. The paint mixes well and it always looks artistic because the water blends the darks and lights together. So go crazy with it. Angela decided to do red berries on her wreath, which I think is adorable. And what we did was we just continue with our leaves, and now we have our circle. And you could personalize it any way you want. I know Rosella did some little holly berry leaves in the corners. I thought that looked fabulous. Angela put some berries right on her wreath. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna hang these up somewhere and enjoy them for the whole holiday season. Right, Ange?
Yep.
Because it reminded us that Jesus is the reason for the season. And don't forget that, because that's how you'll find happiness. Jesus, others, and then yourself. Thanks for sipping and painting with us, right, Ange?
Yeah.
It was fun. We had a great time. I hope you all enjoy this art activity. Thank you, and Merry Christmas from
Merry
5th grade
Christmas.
CCD. Woo!